Hare Krishna. So, today we have a very special day. It's a very unique day. And 60 years ago, in a small storefront in the Lower East Side of New York, 2nd Avenue, 26 2nd Avenue, Srila Prabhupada had guests who were there, who had been coming regularly to his gatherings, sign a document to sign the International Society of Krishna Consciousness as a entity into being. So these were just guests, friends. They had become like friends because they had come regularly to the small programs that Prabhupada was helping. They were not sincere practitioner of Krishna consciousness. They just liked the Swami. At that time, what we call Srila Prabhupada, that was not even there, Prabhupada. It was Swamiji. So it was a very friendly atmosphere. And Prabhupada, he would share a few times a week. He would share. He had been at the Bowery, at a very run-down loft, just a few months before. And there, we spoke about that one time, there he had made the first Sunday feast. So what we do today, we have a Sunday feast. That program was already begun personally by Srila Prabhupada some months before, because he thought this is very important. We come together, we sing together, we hear something about Krishna together, and then Srila Prabhupada, he had personally cooked a feast, and he would go and he would serve every guest with his own hands, and in this way he would introduce the culture of Krishna consciousness to his guests. So, but at that time, when he was in the Bowery on this loft, in a very poor condition, the alcohol people, they would block the stairs, so he would have to go over them to get up to his room. And like this, at that time he had already started to meditate on the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. He wanted to incorporate a society where spiritual culture was the center. And if we go back at Srila Prabhupada's life 10 years before that, almost 10 years, in the 50s, 54, 50s, 56, he had already attempted something a little similar. He wanted, at that time, he called his group of people, he called it the League of Devotees. And at that time he had already wrote some statutes, some things. If you want to incorporate a society, you need to have some guidelines, some rules. So there he had already written about 19 different guidelines, what this international society should be about. So then he had written his books, then he had come to America, and for more than 1 year, he had been alone in New York. And little by little, he had started to make some progress. People were coming, people were interested. They were not serious devotees, but they liked the chanting and they liked the cooking and they liked to be with Srila Prabhupada because that was so special. And the storefront room was just, at that time, it was just a bare room. There was nothing in it at that time. But Prabhupada, people would still come in, they would sit on the floor, Prabhupada would speak, he would sing for about an hour, and then on that day, 60 years ago, he had a contact. I will just read a little bit, maybe one page, so we can get the mood. Srila Prabhupada is speaking. I'm reading from a book, which is, I think this part is only in English. It's called, it's from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, and it's called Planting the Seed. And this Prabhupada Lilamrita has 7 volumes. So the German one it's just one book. So there are different parts which are in the German one, but not everything, of course. 7 volumes down to 1 volume. So this is the full Prabhupada Lilamrita. Of course, nowadays there are more than, there are almost 60 different biographies of Prabhupada, or different devotees who have written their stories about Prabhupada. But this is like an official biography. So Srila Prabhupada is speaking. We shall call our society ISKCON. He had laughed playfully when he first coined the acronym. So the letters. He had initiated the legal work of incorporation that spring while still living in the Bowery. But even before its legal beginning, he had been talking about his International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And it had also appeared in letters to India and in the Village Voice. The Village Voice was a small newspaper which were there in Greenwich Village, close to the temple. A friend had suggested that a title would sound more familiar to the Westerners if it was International Society for God Consciousness. But Prabhupada had insisted Krishna consciousness. God was a vague term, whereas Krishna was exact and specific. God consciousness was spiritually weaker, less personal. And if Westerners didn't know what Krishna was, that Krishna was God, then the International Society for Krishna Consciousness would tell them by spreading his glories in every town and village. Krishna consciousness was Prabhupada's own rendering of a phrase from Srila Rupa Goswami, written in the 16th century. But to register ISKCON legally as a non-profit and tax-exempt religion, that required money and a lawyer. Carl Jürgens, which was one of the boys who came there regularly, I don't know if they really understand. So Carl Jürgens, one of the boys, had already gained some experience from forming religious, political, and social welfare groups, and when he had met Prabhupada on the Bowery, he had agreed to help. He had contacted his lawyer, Stephen Goldsmith. Stephen Goldsmith, a young Jewish lawyer with a wife and 2 children and an office at Park Avenue, was interested in spiritual movements. When Carl told him about Prabhupada's plan, he was immediately fascinated by the idea of setting up a religious corporation for an Indian Swami. So this is very interesting because Stephen Goldsmith, he's a Jewish person, a Jewish lawyer, but he thought, this is going to be something nice. We will help the Swami set up with all the laws which are there in American society. He should have his society set up properly. So Prabhupada had actually given this Stephen Goldsmith his original ideas of what the cooperation should be about. So Stephen Goldsmith, he had condensed these 19 lines into the 7 goals of ISKCON. So if you have a cooperation, then you always have to state what is this cooperation about. It has to have like a statement. So 19 was a little bit too long. I mean, you could do it, but it's more practical. So he had boiled it down to these 7 goals. So these 7 goals are very they're actually listed in the paper, not as 1, 2, 3, but as ABC. So it's very nice to see. So this lawyer had helped a lot, and after the kirtan that day, like we had just had kirtan, then Srila Prabhupada was saying, so now you can take out the papers. And then he asked the persons who were there, can you please sign? Can you please sign? Can you please sign? So the devotees who were there, the guests who were there, they were signing. And it's interesting, 2 of the persons who are there, they have been serving. I mean, some of them, I'm not completely sure who the others are, but 2 of them for sure. One, he was Bill, his name was Bill. This is Ravindra Swarup. He is an initiating spiritual master in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And Mike, or Michael Grant, he is Mukunda Goswami, who is also initiating a spiritual master in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So they had been there as guests, and they had been so moved by Srila Prabhupada that they really took up the process of Krishna consciousness in a deep and proper way. But they signed initially, and Prabhupada even, because Prabhupada, he knew about these kinds of corporations, he knew the rules, so he said, Michael Grant, or Mike, for the first year, you will be the chairman. And then for the second year, then he said another person, and for the third year, another person. So the whole year you will be the chairman first. So it was done very officially, and different devotees who were there present, they gave their name and their address and signed. And in this way, ISKCON was signed into as a proper society. The devotees, they couldn't understand why is Prabhupada doing this, because they were thinking you need this kind of legal cooperation, like for tax exception, if somebody comes and give a big donation. But these were all hippies. They were thinking nobody is coming and giving a big donation. Why would somebody come and give a big donation? They couldn't understand. So, but they kind of like, they followed, they knew Srila Prabhupada, he has a much bigger vision. He also didn't call it the American Society for Krishna Consciousness. He didn't call it the New York Society for Krishna, the Lower East Side Society for, he called it International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So he knew this, whatever we are doing, it's going to be very, because we are not doing it on our own behalf. This is what Srila Prabhupada is saying. This is going to every town and village. This is actually a statement which was made by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that the holy name will be chanted in every town and village all over the world. So this was what Srila Prabhupada, this was his vision. And first, a few weeks later, devotees, they would bring, because there was nothing in the room, they would bring an old rock, like a Persian rock, but not a new one, an old one, and put it on the floor. And some, the Mud Street boys, some of the boys who used to come to the temple regularly, they had been in India, and they had bought different kinds of posters from India. And they had just, they were thinking, we will surprise the Swami when he comes down for the evening program, and we will put out, we will decorate the room. So they had put out all the posters. They had hanged them up very nicely. They had put the rock. They had made a small dais where Prabhupada could sit with some old cushion on top, and nothing was new. Nothing was elegant. It was just done whatever. They had some curtains that they had. The back wall was covered with some curtains, also green and orange curtain. That it looked a little like almost like a theater with the curtains. And when Srila Prabhupada came down, he was very pleased because he could see they are making advancement. They are doing something. He had even again and again praised one person that had happened just 1 week before. He had praised the person who came in during a program. It was a drunk man. He came in, but he had a few rolls of toilet paper, and he put them where the door to the toilet was. And he said, yes, this is for you. And then he went out again. And Prabhupada had again and again said, see, he's doing devotional service. He's making progress. So in the same way, all these young people who were there, Srila Prabhupada was so encouraged to see how they had changed the room into a proper temple room with the posters and with the place where Srila Prabhupada could sit. So the vision of this International Society for Krishna Consciousness for Srila Prabhupada, that was a reality. Because he could see that the people who came, they would slowly, they were starting to understand the concept of performing devotional service to God. Keith, who later became Kirtananda, he had a fondness of cooking. So as soon as possible, he would see that the Swami, he was in the kitchen cooking, so he would go and say, can I help? And within less than a week, he would go with Prabhupada to the market, do the shopping, and then later he would just do everything himself. He would cook rice, dal, sabji, and chapatis every day for everybody who was there. So Prabhupada, as soon as he could see somebody was interested and wanted to be part, he would train them and help them how to perform these different services. So I will read these 7 purpose of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And this, actually here it says it was in 1953, these were already points that Prabhupada had put together for the League of Devotees in Jhansi in India. So this had already been very prominent in his mind, what should be the goal of such a society. So the first point is to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and to educate all people in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and to achieve real unity and peace in the world. So that is so educate people in spiritual values and get the imbalance in order to come to unity and peace in the world. So this is a very beautiful goal and very beautiful purpose of our activities. We just sit here and sing, but if we actually think about what is happening, people are making spiritual progress. When they make spiritual progress, then some material qualities like greed and anger and lust and illusion, they all slowly start to vanish and they become peaceful within. And if you have a world with people who are peaceful within, then you will have a peaceful world. So it's here in Srila Prabhupada's 7 purports. So Number 2, to propagate a consciousness of Krishna as it is revealed in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is very interesting, because Srila Prabhupada, he wanted that people should understand God consciousness in a scientific way. It shouldn't be a question of somebody's opinion. Everybody can have an opinion of God, but that was not Srila Prabhupada's goal. His goal was to take the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam and present Krishna, or God, or spiritual consciousness, according to what is there in the scriptures of the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And the next point, to bring the members of the society together with each other and nearer to Krishna, the prime entity, thus to develop the idea within the members and humanity at large that each soul is part and parcel of the quality of Godhead, Krishna. So this point, it's also like, if this would just happen, the whole world would completely change. If we can come to the understanding that we are all parts of the Supreme, and who is the Supreme, if we understand who is the Supreme, and we all understand we are parts, and we can act in harmony and service of the Supreme together in a society, then everything would completely change. So the more Srila Prabhupada, he would sometimes speak with the managers of the temples, because in the temple you have all these different peoples who come together, and sometimes there is a little friction. And Srila Prabhupada, he would make the point, if everybody is Krishna conscious, then these frictions, they would go away. And also he would say, if you know how to preach, then management will come at your fingertips. So if you can inspire somebody to serve, then it's very simple how everybody can just be engaged according to their best quality, like that. So this is the point. And then to teach and encourage the Sankirtan movement, congregational chanting of the holy name of God as revealed in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So again, we have the whole singing and dancing, which it's sometimes we call ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Sometimes that's what we are called, but mostly we are just called the Hare Krishna movement. Because why? Because Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this is like every time people see us on the street, in singing, in concerts, in festivals, in Radha Yatras, it's always the chanting of Hare Krishna is always there. So this, again, Srila Prabhupada, he's not saying we are going to just do this because this is a good idea. He's saying we are going to do this because it's based on the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So again, he's taking the authority, spiritual authority from in the line, which is very important. And then to erect for the members and for society at large a holy place of transcendental pastimes dedicated to the personality of Krishna. So the language is not so easy to understand here, but it means to build temples. So we are in such a holy place right now, which is erected for the members and for the society at large as a holy place of transcendental pastimes, which is dedicated to the personality of Krishna. So we have the deities of Krishna here, which are worshipped. And if you perform devotional service in a holy place, then some pastimes are going to happen. Something will happen where you can see, oh, Krishna, he's interacting with all of us in his personal ways. So this is, again and again, it is said that the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, which is the spreading of the holy name of the Lord, that they are still taking, they are still happening now, because we are still doing what Lord Chaitanya asked us to do. We are still coming together, chanting together. So this is one of the goals, one of the purposes. Then we have, that's one of my favorite. I don't know if you're allowed to have favorites, but I have a favorite one. So to bring the members closer together for the purpose of teaching a simpler and more natural way of life. So Srila Prabhupada would always say, simple living, high thinking. So to live in a very simple way, not trying to complicate by all the things that you long for in the material society, just not interested. So to bring the members of closer together for the purpose of teaching a simpler and more natural way of life. So this is something I think everybody can do for themselves, but it's also like a life's work. You know, it has become like a modern kind of mode, fashion, yes. It's called minimalism. And there's another kind of fashion which is like tiny houses. You know, that's like another kind of fashion, which is like, so people, they even in the society at large, they know, if I simplify my life, I have more time and more energy for that which is really important. So this is why to live a simpler life. What is the goal of that? Yeah, that means I have time to hear, to chant, to serve, because I don't have so many material needs. I don't need to work, you know, hours and hours and hours just to maintain a house, a car, insurance, all the things you simplify. So that was one of the points. And the last point, which was actually Prabhupada inherited that point from his spiritual master and the spiritual master's father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So I was just hearing how in the house of Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Calcutta, he was living in a house, but the house was quite big because he was also like a magistrate. So he had a good government position, but he was also like serving. He was a writer. So in his house, he had a book press. So he would print his magazines and his books and his small booklets. They would be printed in his house. So to make sure that they would be there for distribution. So this was Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and then we have Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, who is the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada, and who is the son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He had the Bhakt Bisar temple. I think this was also in Calcutta. He had the deities, which we also have the deities, and then there was a courtyard, and then opposite the deities, there was a big printing press. So there was this big press, and the press would make this gadang, gadang, gadang. You know, it makes this sound when the big heavy machine. This was around maybe 1800, in the beginning of the 1900s. So these are many years back. So these machines, they really made a sound. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, this is the big madanga. We have the small madanga. You can hear it a few blocks away down the street. You can hear the small madanga. But the brihat madanga, the big madanga, this it made a sound also. The deities would look at the printing press all day and hear the sound of the big Madanga. But the books, they can go out, places where we cannot go, a book can travel, to all corners of the world. So the last point, Srila Prabhupada, again, as a servant of the previous teachers in his line, he say, with the view toward achieving the aforementioned purposes, so all the other 6 points, to publish and to distribute how you say that? Periodicals? Yeah, as a magazines, books and other writings. So to tie all of the things together in the end with the printing of books. So today is a special day. We are part of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and Srila Prabhupada's books has been translated in more than 80 languages of the world. You will find the Bhagavad Gita and many other books. And there are devotees chanting all over the world. All corners of the world, there are devotees chanting. There are Radha Yatra festivals taking place all over Germany even. There was one temple. I have a little contact because I took part in a seminar, so I have a little contact with devotees in India, and there was one temple that within 14 days, they arranged for 71 Radha Yatras. 14 days, one temple, and they would go to schools and where people live in communities, big communities. So they would, for every Radha Yatra, they would have like a few Radha Yatras every day, but they would go to, they would have more than 1,000 people for each Radha Yatra. And they would have like the congregation and the school and help organize. So within these 14 days, they pulled it off. So we have devotees who they do amazing things all over the world. In India. Yeah, in India it's very popular that the school would have a Radha Yatra festival. That's like a popular thing for the students to do. So maybe there is some comment or some questions. Yes.
Yes, you mentioned today would be the writing in the contract.
Yes.
On Wikipedia, it's written the 13th of July. Now this is the moon day today? Or
no, yeah. Today we, if we follow the Vaishnava calendar, our Jamastami is in September this year because one whole month has been pushed in. Yeah, so it's according to the Vaishnava calendar, the day is today, but according to the Western calendar, it was in July. Yeah, so that
also originally it was also
yeah, it was gone
because now it's 60 years.
Yeah.
Every year on this Ekadashi.
Yeah. So this Ekadashi has a special name. I don't know the name of the Ekadashi, but this Ekadashi. Yeah. So on this Ekadashi day, it was done.
We can.
Yeah, we will find out. But it's today.
Kamika.
Yeah, Kamika. And everybody who is more than 60 years old, which is maybe not so many of the persons in this room, but maybe a few are more than 60. That society has been going on since. And it's really amazing that some of the persons who were there and signed, that they are still like active in their devotional service so many years after. It's we are like the second generation, the generation, maybe third generation even, disciples of Srila Prabhupada, but it says that these are years of tears, because the direct disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they are passing. Almost every week there is another person who was a direct servant of Srila Prabhupada who left. But because Srila Prabhupada made the institution with all the principles which he taught his direct disciples, therefore this can go on. We know what to do. We know we should have a Sunday feast. We know we should come together, serve Shri Radha Madan Mohan, distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, hear about Krishna from Prabhupada's books. Maybe something else? Yeah.
You talk about these 7 purposes or goals, and that probably over the past 6 years have been better or maybe less already reached or implemented. So just for your personal feeling or understanding of what is right now, what do you think we have to focus on the most from this? Maybe something that we didn't quite implement so much yet.
I think everything can be complete even if it's like the 9 processes of devotional service. You can become complete just by hearing or just by chanting. You understand what I mean? So it's not that the society will break down if not everything is done simultaneously. But if devotees focus, like one of the goals is to have temples where Krishna is the center. So and it's interesting because there are 2 or 3 of the goals where Prabhupada is speaking about the members. That's us. So he is speaking, and every time he mentions the members, he says, "Come together." So I think that is an important point, that nobody can do something big like maintaining a temple like this temple alone. It's not possible. It means we have to come together. We have to contribute. We have to find out some service that we can do, where we can give a contribution. And as soon as we do that, we will get a deep realization. I'm the person who benefits. I think I come and I do something. I come and I clean the temple room after the Sunday feast. I come and I do something. But you will see after some time, when you do that as a regular service, you will see actually I'm the one who is getting more happy. I'm the one who is getting the mercy. So there are many, these points are there, but we have to find out what fits for us also. But come together, I think that is very high up as something we can do. We come together and we find out how can we make this place a nicer place, or how can we meet together and go out and sing. We sometimes do the kirtans outside. Absolutely ecstatic. If you go out and you do that, you're just completely happy. So, yeah, come together, serve Krishna to your best capacity.
This is just
Yeah.
one comment about this. It came to my senses the verse of Bhagavad Gita 247. Now I have only a German translation. It's useful also in German.
247.
Yes, because of the rules we have the 7 goals we made. Prabhupada made for us so we have the right to follow these principles, but we have not
We are not entitled to to the
result,
outcome,
to
to the
result.
outcome, to the, yes. So we have,
It's like this, it's very nice verse.
so this is Kamaye Vahikavaste. You have the right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your
This would
duty.
be a nice question about what's going on. We do these things and look, this temple room, okay, today it's full, but during the week it's almost empty. But
Yeah. Yeah, this is the point. We have the right to take part, but we are not, we shouldn't think, oh, I did that.
Yes,
Because we don't. Yeah. 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 So we are not here to enjoy the result. We are here to just
do it.
just do it. Just do it. Yeah. Okay, so we can sing a little bit, and everybody can offer a small lamp, and then we will have a big feast. The best part of the program. Haribol.